if you know that level of worth that you carry and value, you wouldn't question if the things that you authentically want are good and helpful and beautiful. Your dreams will always require your healing, and you need to know that in order to move forward. If you feel stuck in your creativity, your art, your business, or your life, then it's essential to understand that you are being asked to heal what's in the way of you creating what you dream about. This podcast is all about the relationship between your emotional health and your creativity. I'm Courtney Lancaster, and this is the Heal Create Podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Heal Create Podcast. You guys, it is video game time in my household. So if you hear the war cries of a teenager, know that all is well. It's Minecraft time, you guys. Okay, so I wanted to talk about something that I've been thinking about since I did the show a couple weekends ago. And I mentioned it on that podcast episode when I talked about how the show was for me. I mentioned how afterwards a bunch of people, people that I kind of have known and we've maybe been in this journey together, some of them as far as like songwriting and performing and releasing music, said something like, oh my gosh, I want to do this so bad, this being like performing, writing. And I don't know what it is. Like, I just can't. I cannot move forward. And I've been thinking about how many times I've heard that in my creative life. And I feel like all the time, anytime I do something creative, inevitably like somebody will say something like that. And the opposite is true as well. Anytime I see somebody, or I should say anytime that I used to see someone that inspired me before I had really gone on my own sort of empowerment journey through healing, emotional health, I always had the same experience of feeling like, oh, I really wish I could do what they do. Or like, you're so inspiring. I love to do that too. And I just don't know what my deal is. And so I thought today I would give you 5 things that I find hold creatives back the most. And at this point, I have, the data pool of all of my coaching clients over the last 4 years to draw from too, and we get to really deep dive into what holds them back. These are all the things that kind of held me back as well, and that I still work with as far as like creative blocks go. But these are just the ones that I hear the most. And this has to do more with like, I have a dream to do this, but I feel stuck. The first one I called the invisible wall. The invisible wall is this idea. It's a concept that I've heard in trauma education, which basically is this feeling of like, I want to move towards that thing. I want to move towards the thing. And there's like something in my way. I don't know even what it is, but like every time I move towards the things that I want to do, I just feel shut down. I feel numb. I feel anxious. I feel like I procrastinate. I can't. I don't know what it is. And what that actually is your nervous system telling you that the thing that you want to move towards is dangerous. That's what the invisible wall is. That is what that feeling of can't move forward, that stuck feeling, that's what that is. And what's so interesting about that is that we tend to internalize it like there's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I just can't get myself going. I don't know what's the matter with me. And there's nothing the matter with you. Your body's working perfectly based on what it thinks is happening, like your nervous system always does and always will. So the name of the game isn't, feel the fear and do it anyways. I understand the well-intentioned offering of that phrase, but it is not actually helpful because a lot of creatives and artists feel the fear and do it anyways, and they don't know why they are either coping with addictions and stressed out and constantly anxious and have this really unhealthy, insecure attachment to their creativity and their dreams, but it's not actually like the full story of what's happening. So if you find yourself in that situation where you feel like that's totally me, I have no idea why, then there's a few different things that you can do. What is most likely is that you have some kind of unresolved trauma around, well, I mean, that is technically what's happening. You have some kind of unresolved trauma around the thing that you want, because the thing that you want means something dangerous to your nervous system. And what I mean by that is this: creatives are, especially those who do this as a profession, and I would count entrepreneurs in this category as well. We are creating something that's never been created before, and we are creating it to be seen, to be consumed, to be heard and felt and experienced. And so if you have any wounding around being seen or heard or felt or experienced like you were rejected when you were vulnerable as a kid or as a young adult or any time in your life, or you were bullied or you were neglected, nobody saw you. So it feels totally unfamiliar to your nervous system to be seen at the level that you dream about. Then yeah, your nervous system is going to stop you from doing that thing. And it might take some support. It might take some deep journaling, but you need to know that there are so many ways to resolve that block and to heal that block. And it has to do with kind of reparenting the inner child, which we've talked a lot about around here with Laura Duncan, we had Jenna Remersma a couple of weeks ago, working with the inner children, because they're the ones kind of at the helm when it comes to that invisible wall, and letting them know that it's safe now. The thing that they're afraid is going to happen if you do this thing, first of all, most likely won't. Second of all, if it does, you'll be okay. And again, it most likely won't. Something like 97% of the things that we worry about never actually happen. The thing that you're afraid of happening is actually a past version of you remembering how it felt to have that happen when they were younger, usually in our 0 to 12 programming. And we want to go back and rewire that. We want to go back and let that little kid know, hey, this is actually different and it gets to be different. Another important part of healing that block is to go slowly. And that can be really frustrating for creatives with big dreams. But the truth is, time is going to pass either way. And I see a lot of creatives, and this was me too. Time was passing so quickly while I was being hard on myself for not moving fast enough. And nothing productive happened. So you need to only go as fast as the youngest part of you wants to go. And again, that will look like, maybe getting support, maybe journaling. And you will notice that each step gets a little easier and a little bigger, and you have been safe the whole time. If you really want to get just like real down and dirty with it, you can do this practice of writing down what it is you want. Like, what is the dream that you want to experience, that you want to create? Number one. Number two, writing down why you can't have it. Why you can't have the thing that you want. And if that sounds like a brain flip, well, it actually isn't. You know deep down exactly why you think you can't have this thing. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I'm scared of what my friends will think. I can't, like, whatever comes up for you when you ask that question to yourself, and just let it come, let it float up to your brain. Those are you could say they're the lies that you're believing, or you could say that they are the truths that your younger self actually did experience and doesn't yet know is behind them. And that's how you begin the work of breaking down that invisible wall, letting that younger part know that they're safe. Number two, lack of resources. So this is a really big one. And man, oh man, is it excellent evidence for your nervous system to never do anything that you want. I don't have the resources. So a lot of times for creatives, they feel like they get stuck in this problem of not having enough money and wanting to be creative in a way that's not going to make them money. And so they just feel hopeless from the get-go. And what you need to know as far as money goes, first of all, there are endless ways to make money from music. But before you get to that point, you probably have a lot of artist development to go through. You have a lot of time to actually practice and get coached or take lessons or learn social media, because so much of, any artist or creative industry is self-promotion on social media. So you probably need some time to like actually develop yourself. And in the meantime, what you need to know is that your job is your biggest investor. And for those creatives that feel like, oh, I'm not doing what I really want because I just work at Starbucks. Well, then great. Starbucks is investing into your future. It's helping you pay the bills so that you have the heat and electricity you need to play your electric guitar at night or to design the website for your entrepreneurial business. It's the thing that's pouring into you. And as soon as you begin to see it like that, or actually, let's say it differently, if you choose not to see it like that, then you are putting yourself in a victim role. And it will always feel like you don't have money and that you have to do a job that you hate. But if you can see it as the thing that's actually supporting you in your development stage until you can make money from the things that you create, then it really changes the game. And it actually sends a lot of cues of safety to your nervous system. And a regulated nervous system, whether you're working at Starbucks or composing an incredible new song that the whole world is going to hear, is what's most important here, because that allows you to feel calm, curious. It's going to be where your greatest creative ideas come from, your compassion for yourself as you heal the blocks that are in the way, like we talked about. That is the most important thing. And seeing your job as your biggest investor and supporter is going to be what helps you do that. The third thing that holds people back is, what will people think? And this is a little bit more of those who know themselves, who really admit that, or can admit, with some self-awareness that, okay, the truth is, with some work and intention, I actually could do the thing that I want. I just feel like I don't know what people are going to think. This is kind of, I would say, the umbrella of another thought, which is like, I'm not getting picked. Nobody is publishing my book or discovering me and my talent, or asking me to be on stage, or creating spaces for me to sing. And that is sort of a blaming way, and no offense, no shame here, but it is a blaming way to really partner with the wound of, I'm scared of what people will think, because what we're hoping for deep down is, that somebody will actually think we're amazing and create spaces for us to do the things that we want to do. But not getting the part in the play, not getting a slot in the, artist show lineup, not getting your business picked for a review. Like, there are so many things that can be a sign of threat to our nervous system. Like, oh my gosh, nobody actually wants me to do this, or nobody's picking me to do this. And that takes some work to, this all takes work, and it's work that you're going to be so glad that you did. So I want to just say that everything is healable, but this takes some very soft, nurturing intention to really be with these scared parts of you, because those parts of you don't know that, first of all, if people don't like what you create, it's not for them. There's 8 billion people in the world. There's going to be a lot of people that like your stuff. Second of all, that young part of you doesn't know that this is actually an expression of who you are, and that, people are drawn to like the actual authentic expression of a human being. They're drawn to that, and they're going to find you, and they're going to find your work. That takes a lot of trust for a young part of us, a broken heart who maybe got bullied or rejected as a kid. And the third thing that I think is probably one of the most important things that the modern day creative needs to understand is that it's going to take some time to develop a robust relationship with self-promotion. That is so important for creativity in this day and age, because even I was with my own mentor, who's a producer, and just kind of, as he's explained like the music industry to me, we've talked about how like record companies don't go out and like discover talent anymore. It's not like it was, even 20 or 30 years ago. Everything now has to do with how well you present yourself on social media. And don't let that discourage you, because the truth is we all have access to the same group of people in the world, everyone who's on social media, and we all have access to the same tools. Great courses out there. There are excellent resources and books and accounts that will help you learn how to promote and share your art. And in that way, guys, you got to pick yourself. And I think this is like the inner child work that's necessary, is that you have to go back and create some experiences for that younger self where she does feel picked or he does feel picked. And this is where connection to God is just everything. It's the foundation of everything, because he does pick you and he validates you and he wants to put you in front of everyone and show you off. And until you really allow that to be the truth for that inner part of you, you're always going to be worried about what people think, and it will always, always hold you back. Speaking of God, that's actually, I put that as number 4. And obviously I work with a lot of Christian creatives. That's who finds me because of my history in Christianity and because I'm a Christian. The thing that I hear the most from Christians is this fear that the thing they want isn't the will of God. And that it's hard for me to even remember that there was a time when I really believed that as well. And where I didn't believe that like what lights you up will lead you home. And, you know, your desires, the things you want to create are actually a North Star, the blueprint of God on your life. I so deeply believe that. It's like, I almost have to like squint and like, oh, right. Some people don't believe that. A lot of people don't believe that, especially in evangelicalism. No dig there at all. I actually, as a side note, I have some friends that I go to church with, 3 guys, and they have a podcast called Bibles, Bros, and Beer. It's totally irreverent. It's like expletive rating. And I love it because they're so honest. And it says something like, if you want a podcast that will inspire you to have a deep relationship with God, then this is not the place. But they do love God. They love God and they love Jesus. They're just super honest on this podcast. And I think it's so amazing. And I think we need more like that. You should go check them out. But anyways, the thing about that whole idea is that the idea that like it might not be God's will, that this is what I want, is that I believe it completely misrepresents God as like the good parent that he is. And I always think about like, imagine if I gave my kid like crayons and, you know, blank paper. And I was like, draw whatever you want. I can't wait to see it. And he looked at me and was like, well, I mean, what do you want me to draw? I would be so confused. Like, no, this is whatever. I want to see what's in your heart. I want to see what you're thinking of. Like, what do you want to do? I'll help you do whatever you want. If you believe that you are the beloved of God, you know, Jesus said, I'm the first among many brothers and sisters, so beloved. He called himself a child of God, had such a connection to God, trusted himself, trusted the voice of the Holy Spirit within him, and then said that we get to be like him. If you know that level of worth that you carry and value, you wouldn't question if the things that you authentically want are good and helpful and beautiful. And that is something that got really twisted in evangelicalism. Again, no offense, but it got so twisted that there are kids that come to me with like, again, the mental gymnastics of trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. And I'll say, oh, well, what you're supposed to be doing with your life is what lights you up. Is so foreign and even scary to them. They're afraid that they're going rogue, that they're like going outside of the will of God. But the will of God is for you to feel so lit up and to do the thing with the gifts that he gave you. Even if it's not inside the church, even if it's not about, you know, spirituality at all, but it's the art or the thing that doesn't exist yet that only you can bring forward with him. That's what he wants. That's his will. You can trust what lights you up. What lights you up will lead you home. That is the will of God. Okay. The last thing, this is my favorite one, you guys, because it makes me giggle. I don't really know what I want. That's number 5. I don't really know what I want to do. So I'm looking at this super talented person. Makes me laugh even right now to think about it. I'm looking at such an amazingly talented person, right? And they're like clearly gifted. That's the thing that is baffling to me. First of all, how many brilliantly talented, creative people I meet and get to meet with all the time. I get to meet way more talented people than I do people that you're like this isn't actually maybe what you're supposed to be doing. Does that make sense? Like you would think, well, I don't know, maybe there are people out there that maybe aren't in alignment or don't know what they want to do. And they clearly aren't like resourced and gifted in the area that they want to create in. And that's kind of fun too, because you get to sort of relieve the pressure of like, I don't know where you got this idea that you're supposed to be doing this, but what are some other things that you love? And then whatever they end up finding feels like a way more of a relief. But I actually meet those people way less than I do the people that are legitimately mind-blowingly talented. Maybe they needed a little development, and they might need to do some inner work and gain some confidence and self-worth and value. But the truth is that most of the time, they're so much more ready than they think they are. And those are the ones that say to me something like, I just don't really know what I want. And that is just the most brilliantly beautiful thing that a scared nervous system could say, because it just puts you in this very safe zone of inaction. And the cut through question is, if absolutely anything is possible, what would you want to create? I've heard another teacher talk about like finding your purpose and saying like, if I could make the people around me feel a certain way, how would I want them to feel? And from there, you can kind of like gather, what your work might be. What would be the most fun way to help them feel that way? That's a really great way to kind of begin to access what your purpose might be. But I don't know what I want to do is most of the time, in my experience, not true. Not that it's a lie or there's deception there, but it is actually just again, brilliant strategy of a nervous system that's trying to keep you from taking even one step forward by giving you so many options that you could never actually be satisfied with just one. But the truth is there is one. There is something that you dream about doing, and maybe you haven't seen it created yet. Maybe you haven't seen it done, and that's why it feels like you maybe need to be this like either multi-passionate, I need to do several things at one time, or maybe you feel like every time you land on something you want, you like lose interest in it and you're like, maybe not. So while there is certainly a time, especially in your 20s, to kind of like try new things, that's a little bit different than what I'm talking about. That's more of like this, and you could be at any stage of life, not in your 20s. It's just more common in your 20s because your slate is a little blanker. But there are a lot of people that start over in their 40s, 50s, and 60s and 70s that go through this process as well. And it's the process of like kind of trying new things, and it's exciting and nothing's off the table. You're just like sort of exploring what you like, exploring what like lights you up. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the people who have gone through that stage and they've known what lights them up and they let go of it. And one of the clues about those people is they'll keep returning to it. Maybe I do want to do this thing. No, I don't know. Maybe I should do this instead, or maybe I should do this instead. If that's you, I really want to challenge you that you do actually know who you are and what you want to do. And it really is time to start taking steps towards that. So those are my 5 things. There's so many more too that I almost thought maybe I'll do 10 things, but I think what I'll just do is save more for later because we got time. Guys, I hope you have such a wonderful week. I hope that this has just been a shot of inspiration for you to move towards the things that you want to move towards. It's going to be a good time. I promise you're on the right track, okay? I just wish you absolutely incredible, deep, resolving, integrated healing, and easy creativity. Hope you have a great day, guys. Bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Heal Create podcast. If you have enjoyed this podcast at all, we would love if you would subscribe, rate it, send it to your friends. That would really help us get this message out, this message of empowering people towards emotionally sustainable creativity. Also, we have a PDF for you. So there's an exercise that I created called inspiration mirroring. And basically, it is for those that are looking to get acquainted with their authentic, truest self, based on the idea that whatever inspires you embodies your potential. And so if you want to get started on that journey today of really understanding who you are at your core, the person that you hope you are, then you can go to the link in my bio on Instagram or go to my website and download that PDF. I think that's all. Have a beautiful day.